Hey everyone, my name is Beverly Filer. I am the owner and designer of South Tex Creations, where if you can dream it, I can create it. And I teach you how to make beautiful home decor for yourself and for your business. So tonight we are going to do something fun. I am so excited to have this cute little guy in my hot hands. Isn't he cute? He is the Pumpkin Man from Envy Inspiration, which are these fabric pumpkins. So I've got this white and orange, kind of a zigzag print, and this is a real pumpkin stem on top of that. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of fun and kick it up with some black and white. So I've got a real pretty black and white print here that we're going to add. And got some fun ribbon, deco mesh, got my hot glue pen going. So, you know, I think we are ready to roll. Okay. I'm using, let me just sit him off to the side. I don't want to get him in the way. So, you know, guys, I know a lot of you have watched my lives in the past, and I hardly ever use this style of work form wreath. I mean, I always just buy the regular wire forms and add my own chenille stems. But I had a couple of these in my stock, and I thought, you know what? I don't use these a lot, but let's just go ahead and try one and just see how it's going to work out. This particular one is 15 inches, but it has 18 ties on it. And for any of you that are interested in it, the item number is XX, like X-ray, 750360. I got this one from General Wholesale. This is an evergreen, which is fine. I didn't have an orange one that I really preferred, or even the burlap style ties, but this evergreen is going to be fine because I will be using, let me find my deco mesh. I'm going to be using this this green 21-inch deco mesh, and it's kind of like a moss green, I guess. So we're going to use this tonight. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to, I don't have my deco mesh holder with me. It's in the other room. I failed to get it. So I'm just going to do the old-fashioned way, guys. So I just dropped my roll to the ground, and I'm just going to gather this up, and I'm just going to start. Typically, I start on the outside. There's a lot of people who do this, and they start on the inside ties, go around, and then they move it down and do the outside ties. I do it just the opposite, and that's who I am. I do everything just the opposite of everyone else. So I'm just going to take this and put it in between the ties and just give the ties a couple quick twists just to hold it in place. Now, what I also do that a lot of people don't do is, just to make sure that this stays in place, I always use a couple zip ties. And basically what I'm doing is I'm going to take my zip tie and I'm going to zip tie it down to that first ring, this outer ring. That way I know that deco mesh, in the event this ever did come loose, it is not going to ruin the wreath and come apart. So I always zip tie the beginning and I zip tie the end. That's just something I've always. So what I'm doing here is just a basic poof technique. My poofs are running anywhere between 8 to 9 inches. I don't really measure these anymore. I've been doing this for so long that I can kind of eyeball it. But this wreath in itself will probably end up being about 27 inches in diameter by the time I'm done adding, you know, all the extra layers, the ribbon ties, all those things. So once I get this on, I've already pre-cut my 2 different styles of 10 by 10 deco mesh, and I will show you what that is. And then I'm going to show you the ribbons I'm going to use. Guys, these ribbons are beautiful. And I love the new ribbons they have out now for the fall. And it's kind of hard to find them. I mean, they are going fast. I've been looking for another particular style of ribbon, and I should have bought it when I was at the Wreath Makers Live. They had it there, and I didn't. And now I could kick myself for not getting it. But that's how it goes sometimes. You snooze, you lose. Okay, so I've completed the first circle all the way around. I'm back to where I started. So now I'm going to jump forward to the inside circle and just bring this right up to that first inside tie. So how All right, we are getting close to the end of this roll. So let me just take this off. Wreath Makers Haven. I always call it heaven, JC. I said that, I even said that to Mandy one time, Wreath Maker Heaven, and she laughed. She goes, well, I guess you could call it a heaven. I'm like, girl, I call it a heaven. But it's haven, y'all. It's haven. So I love this green. I use a lot of this green in my fall decor. I don't have the number for this particular one, but I'm telling you, it is such a beautiful green. It's like a moss green. And I buy quite a bit of this, mainly in the 10-inch rolls, not so much in the 21-inch. Okay, so I've got this all the way around. So what I'm going to do now, I've got the tail here. You can see the tail. I'm just going to push it through to the underneath side. And I'm going to zip tie this onto one of the crossbars here, just to secure it and make sure that this is not going to pop loose. Again, you don't have to do this. This is just something I do, something I've always done. And I know that it is not going to go anywhere. All right. Once I get this zip tied on, then I will cut off that excess piece, and then I trim up these raw little pieces and trim it real close. And that just gets your back nice and clean too. Okay, so I've got this on, and actually, if you notice, this pine needle blends very well with this green. So I was thinking, ooh, this is going to look too pine greeny, but it's not. It really blends well. So I'm very happy in that sense. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around to each of the poofs, and I'm just going to kind of pull them apart a little bit, expand them out all the way around. And again, then you can kind of tuck these in. Make sure your raw edges are tucked in. And there we go. So this is what I call the first layer, okay? When I teach my girls in my VIP group, I always talk to them about layering. And that's the biggest part of making a wreath, is building your layers. That way you have a lot of bulk and you don't see the wire coming through from the right side, okay? So this is the first layer, all right? So now the second layer I'm gonna do, let me just set this off the side real quick. I'm using this orange. It's got a little bit of burlap running through it. And I'm also gonna be using this burlap style. It's got a little bit of cream and burlap running through it, but it has the fringe on the end, which I am fallen in love with this fringe, and I don't have the roll with me. So what I'm going to do is on every other tie, I'm going to be alternating these. Typically I do 2 in one tie, But since this is going to be so big and so thick, I've decided to go with one in each tie. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a ruffle technique. That's my favorite. And as you can see how naturally this curls upward, I'm just going to take this and flip it under where the curl is facing down, and I'm just going to go right up the center. And that creates your bow tie. Now, you want to make sure that your raw edge is facing inward. Okay, so this is your top, that's your bottom. And you can start anywhere on here. I'm just going to go into one of these ties. I'm just going to put that in there and then tie it back. And on the one thing I do stress when you're doing your outside, make sure your ties or your ruffles are going lengthwise, not this way. You're going to do the vertical on the inside layer, but on the outside, make sure your ties, or I don't know why I keep calling it ties, but your ruffles are going along with the length of your base. Sorry, kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. Hey, Sandy. Tess, you're watching from your granddaughters tonight, or your grandsons. Okay. Well, my grandchildren are in Florida. Lucky bums. I wish I was there. But they're having a good time. They rented a beach house in Sandestin, Florida. So you see how I'm talking about going lengthwise? So they're having a good time. And like I said, I am just alternating every other tie. And I'm just giving it a couple twists. So I've got the first layer or second layer done on the outer edge. Now I'm going to do it on the inside edge. Okay, last tie, everyone. Okay. All right. So as you can see, I only used two, and they're directly across from each other on the center, but I have the orange on the outer edge. So first ribbon I have, and I just love this ribbon. Give you an up close look. I've got this really cute burlap beige background ribbon with the jack-o'-lantern print on it. And I'm pairing this one up with just a real pretty, that sage green again and white stripe. I always use 4 ribbons. I always use 2 2.5 inch and 2 1.5 inch. And I pair these up. So in every other tie will be a different ribbon, a different set of ribbons. So that's my first set. My second set is I want to introduce a little bit of black in here because I'm going to be using this pumpkin in there. I have just a plain 2.5 inch black and white thin stripe. And I'm pairing it up with, this is a brand new ribbon for this year, guys. This is a 1.5 inch orange trimmed in black with small black polka dots. It's a Swiss dot print. And this one I believe is brand new for this year as well. Let's go ahead and start adding my ribbon strips. And again, all I'm doing is I am taking my ribbon strips and I'm alternating them every other tie. Okay, So all I do when I do my ribbon strips, and I hope you guys can see this okay. So here's my first one, and I take my second one, and the way I like to do is I just lay one on top of the other at a slight crisscross. And then I come up and I pinch it right in the center. So that's my first ribbon strips. And I just come in, and it doesn't matter, just start anywhere you want, and I open up my ties. Now, I've had people ask me, why do you open up your ties every time you put another layer? It's very easy. If you don't untie it, here's my first ribbon strip. If you don't untie this and you just keep adding layer after layer after layer, eventually it's going to look very bulky and very messy. So that's why I like to untie, put my next layer in, give it a couple twists, then untie it again, add another layer, give it a couple twists. So that's just something I've always done. And the other thing I want to tell you, when you're adding your ribbon strips on that outside layer, make sure you're putting them crisscross and they're going the length of the that first layer. So you see how this is laying? And after you get these on, you can go back with your fingers and just give them a little slight curve just by taking your fingers and rubbing the ribbon through your two fingers and applying just a little bit of pressure, and that will naturally curl them. So that just gives them a real pretty look. Okay, so now my next one is going to be the black stripe with the orange Swiss dot. And I just love this combo. All my ribbon strips are cut 12 inches long, and then I've dovetailed the ends. And all you have to do to dovetail, so see, I'm sorry, 12 inches long, fold it in half, fold it again lengthwise, and where the fold in is, you want to take your scissors and cut them at an angle up to the tip, and that will give you your dovetail look. Okay, first row is done. Let's get ready to do the second row. And again, I'm going to just start anywhere in the center. Okay, I'm on my last tie. Okay. Now, when I do my ribbon strips on the inside, I always crisscross them like that. So, I mean, just like this, guys, this is pretty, just the way it is. I mean, if you wanted something super, super simple, you could do something like this, maybe add a few pumpkins, and you would be done. But you know me, I'm not done. So now these are pumpkins that I made. I have a tutorial on my Etsy page on how to make these. So the first thing I want to do, so I'm going to turn this around, is how I want to decide how I want this pumpkin to sit. And I want it kind of sideways where the stem is facing out and away. I don't want it straight up like that. So I'm going to sit it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in right in here. I'm going to cut two small slits right into the fabric. I'm going to run my chenille stem through the fabric. And then I'm going to crisscross it. As soon as my hot glue gun is warmed up, I'm going to shoot some glue right here where the tie goes into the fabric. And then once that cools, I'm going to tie down my pumpkin to the bars on the inside. So in the meantime, That pumpkin is going to go something like that. My little black and white one, I want it to go right underneath it, kind of like in the same direction, but I want the stem facing this way. And I want since this one has two little leaves, I want the leaves facing down so you can see the leaves. So I'm going to put that one, so they're kind of be like resting on each other. So I'm going to come up underneath here. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to make two little holes, two little slits. I'm going to run my chenille stem through, just like that. I'm going to give it a couple twists. And then as soon as my hot glue is heated up, then I will shoot some hot glue here. Now, with the pumpkin man, I'm going to do him probably the same way. I think what I'm going to do on him, since this is his bottom, and his bottom is going to rest on the pumpkin, I'm going to put the tie right up here. You can see where it's kind of has an indent right here where she's sewn that in. I'm going to make two little slits right here, and I'm going to put my chenille stems right here. On the bottom, I'm going to hot glue his little bottom sitting on top of the pumpkin. So let me go ahead and make two slits right here in this fabric. Take my chenille stem. I'm going to run it right through. I know it's orange on orange, so it's kind of hard to see. Just tie that. So now I have all three pieces tied and ready for the glue. So the fabric, those fabric witches hats, that you can buy for, your costumes. Okay, so let me set this here, let that dry. And I'm just putting glue right here where the chenille stem is coming out of the fabric, because I want to make sure that chenille stem and the fabric doesn't continue to split. So I'm just adding a little more glue. All right, so we're going to give this time to dry. So I'm just going to sit those there and let them dry for some reason. Okay, so this is dry. All right, so let's go ahead and tie these on. Let's tie it on, baby. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run these through the deco mesh. So that gives it a little extra stability. And then I'm going to find one of the, come on. I will find the crossbar is what I'm trying to say. Just flip this over. And I'm going to just tie that around the crossbar. I'm going to tie it pretty tight because I don't want that pumpkin to go anywhere. And then I will go back later and I will clean this back up. So let me flip that back around. And I'm going to add a little bit of glue just to make sure that pumpkin is sitting the way I want it. So see, we got the first one on. I will just give it a couple little shots of glue underneath here just to make sure that pumpkin is sitting the way I want it to. I'll pull up some of this deco mesh, especially the fuzzy deco mesh, and bring that up. Now I'm going to tie this one on. I feel like I'm tying it on, baby. These little guys will just stay. So this one is going to go this way. Again, I'm going to run it directly through the deco mesh. And the reason why I'm doing that, it gives it a little bit more stability when you're tying it onto the back of your wreath form. Okay, so here are my 2 pumpkins, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just shoot a little bit of hot glue in between the 2 pumpkins so they will sit the way I want them to. I'm going to shoot a little bit of hot glue in between this one and let it adhere to the deco mesh. Ribbon tails up and away from this center part right here, because that's where my pumpkin man is going to sit. So what I want him to do is I'm going to sit him, we're going to cross his legs, and he's sitting in between both of these pumpkins. And he's got his little hands. I don't know what we're going to do with his hands yet. But right now, I'm going to take the tie that's on his head, and I'm going to run that right through the deco mesh so we can tie him on. And then we'll add some hot glue on his bottom so he can sit the way I want him to on top of the pumpkins. Slowly, I'm just going to flip this over. I have my VIP crafting group. We do tutorials weekly. I give them 2 scheduled tutorials with supply list, and then we have bonus tutorials throughout the month. And we're now doing guest designers in the group, which I think the girls are enjoying that because it gives them a different perspective of how other people, let me just tilt this up so you can see. It gives them a different perspective of how other people craft, because we all have our different methods of crafting. All right, so now I'm just going to add some hot glue right here on his bum, on his little body, and I'm going to lay him and just press down on here so the glue will adhere to both the fabrics. And then we're going to kind of play with his legs. I kind of want him sitting with his legs crossed. He does have wire in his legs, so that makes it easier for his legs to stay. Not quite sure what I want to do with his little arms yet. Maybe I just will let them just kind of hang freely. So I just want to make sure his little bum is glued to this orange pumpkin. So now the next thing I want to do, well, I need to add another glue stick. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue right here where this leg is going to sit. So I want to press on that leg, make sure that leg sits, and then I'm going to cross this leg. I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue right here on top of that leg, just like that. So he's got a little bit of personality, right? I think he's cool. And I'm pulling these ribbon strips that are behind him up and out away from the back of his body so you can see them. And I think what I'm going to do right here, you can see this, he's got a little bit of hair. That's his, I'm going to glue that down onto his forehead. So I'm going to spread it out a little bit, and I'm just going to add a little bit of glue and press that down on the top of his little head. It's glued down. Add a little more glue to his bottom. Okay. And you can play with the ribbon tails and pull them out. So So right there, and again, when I hang him, he's going to be at a slight angle. So there we go. You got three pumpkins. You got the two pumpkins he's sitting on, plus this little guy. So now we're going to start adding some fun stuff to him. So we have 5 of these. I don't know if I'm going to, well, I did have 5. I lost one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clip these off. You know I'm going to find this 5th one after I'm done with my video, but I'm not going to throw this away just in case it fell off. I'll just sit it over here. And I just think these are so stinking cute. So we're going to add these in different areas. Oh, they have eyeballs on both sides. So look, make sure if you're going to use these, make sure you pick the side that looks the best. Like this side looks a little jacked up. This side looks better. So this will be the side that I will use facing outward. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put some hot glue. I'm going to dredge it into my glue pan. And I'm going to just run this right through the mesh. Yes, that was Parker. Had to chase him down. That dog. All right, so I'm just going to dredge some glue in here. And I'm just going to pop this right through. I'm going to add just a little bit of glue on the back of his face and hold that down to the deco mesh. The one thing about this deco mesh, guys, it does have some polyester in it. So the hot glue is going to adhere to the glue real nicely. So once it is dry, that is not going to go anywhere. Then I'm going to add just a little bit of glue to the back of his head and glue that down to the polyester of the deco mesh. So we're going to put 2 here, and I'll put the 3rd one. Well, I have 3. Let's see. We'll put this one down here. Let me just flip this around so I can see it. I'll just put this one behind that pumpkin. That'll be cute. And I have one more. I think I'm going to add this one way down here at the bottom. A couple areas. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of this greenery. And I said, this is my go-to greenery. I use it all year long. And the best way I do is I just take one single piece at a time. I'll pop off a couple of the bottom little leaves. You don't need to keep them. Well, I could keep them. I could add them to, I'll keep them, see what I do with it. And then I'm going to dredge this part into my hot glue. And then I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to pop these in different places all the way around. All right, so the next thing I think I'm going to add will be some of these. So what you want to do with these is you want to push the black leaf all the way up to the orange. Where's my pliers? And then cut it down about 2 inches below You can see that it's about 2 inches, maybe a little more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dredge this in my hot glue. That's a little too much glue. And then I'm going to go in right where my outer ribbon strips are, and I'm going to go right in, and I'm just going to tuck that in. So now you have the ribbon strips and this sticking out. So that's going to give your wreath a bit more width. And you can get these at, let's see, I believe this is Michael's. Yeah, this is Michael's. They have. So let me just raise this up so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the way it's going to hang, kind of sideways. And you can see how these are sticking out where every ribbon strips are at on the outer edge. So again, that just gives it a little more length, or width, I should say, in your wreath. And again, I'm just and see, I think these are so fun. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking these and I'm breaking them down into small little pieces. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue, and I'm just going to pop these in different places. Okay. So here's what we have so far. And I'm going to, now I think if I make just a very simple bow, like maybe, so I'm going to start off with the tail. I want a nice long tail because I'm going to curl it. Well, this ribbon does very nice. So I think I'm going to use an orange chenille stem right in the center. Like I said, this is a very simple bow. Now hang on, I haven't attached this yet, so just give me a second. And then now I'm going to take this. Let me just untie it real quick. And I'm just going to lay that orange right on top of the black. Simple. Let's see, where do I want this? Thinking about putting it right here. So let me run this through. Flip this over. And again, I'll just clean up the back here in a little bit. Let's tie this off. So what I did was I placed the bow right under this black and white pumpkin And let me get the ribbon, let me get their tails. So now, this is how I curl the tails. Just take one of the ribbons. You do not dovetail it. Make sure it has a nice flat bottom, nice clean flat bottom, and just curl it under. Just curl it all the way under, just like you're rolling your hair. And then grab the next one and do the same thing. Now, what's going to happen is when I pick this up and shake it, those curls are going to fall. Where's the other one? Oh, there it is. And see, just a real nice, simple little bow. So that's it. And I might just add right here in the center of the bow, I think I have a little, I don't want to add this little pumpkin. I have a really small little pumpkin that I'll just add right here in the center. And so there you go. Beautiful wreath for Halloween. You know, if you wanted to add a little sign, you could. I don't think it really needs it. I mean, it pretty much screams Halloween with the pumpkin. The black adds a lot to it. Until next time, I will see you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday evening and Sunday tomorrow, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.